Hey everybody, welcome to one more round with Josh Norris. I'm excited. I got Jason Von Payne with me. Jason's the CEO and founder of State 48 Roofing. The Menace to Society podcast is his. He does the Menace clothing line and founder of MenaceCon. Jason, thanks for being here today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dude, you got all kinds of stuff going on. I don't know if you remember, but I met you about a little over 3 years ago. I think it was right when you were starting your roofing company. So I kind of got to witness the beginning of it.
Sure.
And I mean, you guys have just blown up, man. It's amazing.
Yeah, very, very blessed. But we've, I didn't realize. I don't know if it was the potential or the speed that we've been doing, but yeah, we're kicking butt and taking names. So.
Yeah, and I mean, it's funny. There's not a day that goes by that I don't see a State 48 roofing truck going by. How many trucks do you have? Or am
I think we're pushing 10, 11, 12 trucks around there. So
yeah, I see it usually at the QT, which I ran into you at. There's always like one of your guys in there.
My yard is right there on McQueen and Baseline. So
perfect.
Yeah, if you're over there, you'll see we're in and out of there every day. So
awesome. So how'd you get started in the roofing business?
So actually in 2010. So I'm LDS, started a mission for my church, went to Mexico City, learned Spanish, did that from 06 to 08, and then did landscaping for about a year and a half. And, January 2010, literally just got a phone call from my cousin, who his dad, my uncle, owns a local roofing company, Payne Roofing. Mm-hmm. And he said, hey, I'm moving to Chicago, and I need someone to run production for Payne Roofing. I said, okay, cool. I know nothing about roofing. Mm-hmm. He said, not a problem. He's like, I'll train you. And I said, okay, cool. He's like, you need a clear driver's license and speak Spanish. I said, well, I got both of those. Check. Yeah, quick. Yeah, very, very intense interview, right?
Yeah.
And he said, what are you making right now? And I didn't know this then because I was dumb and immature. But the first person to speak loses, right?
Yeah.
And I said, $12.50 an hour. And this, like I said, I'm 21, and like I said, just got back from a mission. And he's like, we'll pay you $14 an hour.
Yeah.
And I was like, I have it made.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to go sign my deposit for my Lambo and let's go. And so that was my mindset. I was like, dude, $1.50 an hour raise when you're in the hourly mindset is a big thing.
$240 a month on 40 hours a week. Yeah.
Yeah, that's big money there. So that's literally how it started.
Yeah.
That was January of 2010. You were probably here, but the hailstorm of 2010 hit October 5th. And, so basically it was baptism. I rode with him for 3 weeks, and then he rode 3 weeks in a day, moved to Chicago, never saw him again, except for like family reunions and stuff. Yeah. And and that's basically how it started. So just put my head down for about 5 years. 2015, Sean is his name. His little brother Todd and I ran side by side. So he did sales, I did production, and then obviously my uncle ran it, owned it. But Todd and I basically ran it and did our thing for about 5 years, 2015. And then Todd left and jumped with his other brother in Chicago. And I took over sales. So 15 to 18, I brought in a buddy named Connor Smith, brought him in. So I moved to the sales side, and I was still doing sales, but not full time. And then that time I had a full sales team behind me and brought in Connor to production. Same thing, ran with it for about 3 years till about mid-2018. And I wanted ownership. I wanted more, bigger slice of the pie, and tried to work it out with my uncle. Simply put, didn't work out. Couldn't come to an agreement, and said, okay, give him my 2 weeks. Lasted 1 week and went to a company called Griffin Roofing. My buddy Earl Simon still owns it over here. And brought in my own leads. And the most we ever did at Payne, while I was there at least, was 5.1 million in revenue, and I averaged about 1.5-ish, apart from being either the sales manager or the GM. Did that for just not even trying, about $100,000 a month in sales, just apart from like trying to get my sales team to do $100,000 a month and all that kind of stuff. And went to Griffin and generated $1.8 million in revenue, all self-lead generated. So no leads from the office. Not once did I take a lead from the company saying, hey, we'll go run this lead. I said, I'll bring in my own leads. I got a little bit of higher pay because I was doing the lead gen, right? Organically. I didn't know what any of this meant, by the way. I just knew that people were calling me and my cell phone and wanted me.
You were the roofing guy.
I'm the roofing guy,
Yeah.
Jason the roofer, right?
Yep.
And I kept that. I wasn't going to change it to Jason the Menace but like that's what I'm known for. I might change it later, but and that's what I did, and everything from production to sales to whatever. And so at Griffin, I was strictly outside sales. So I didn't I would sign a contract, get a deposit, and they would make it happen. Great company, nothing bad to talk about them. When I signed up with Griffin, I told them, I said, hey, one day I want to own my own roofing company. All my uncles, all my family, they're all either solopreneurs or entrepreneurs. None of them worked in corporate America except for one of them. He worked for Ford for 30, 40 years. But all my uncles and my dad especially, they're all entrepreneurs. And I was like, one day I want to own my own business so I can do what I want, go on, do that whole fairy. I don't say
what
fairy
you think
tale,
it's
but
supposed to be like.
Yeah, like, oh, dude, my dad has all this money. He can go to Disneyland and all these trips, and he can not work this Friday because he doesn't want to, and he doesn't have to. My biggest thing is I have 22.3 hours of paid time off. Like, to this day, I hear that, feel that, see that, and I'm like, I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm like, that sounds like that's the handcuffs. I'm out. Not my thing. So at that point, I said, I told him, I said, one day I want to start my own business and start my own roofing company. He's like, okay, cool. How many people say that, right? I'm starting my own business.
A lot of people.
And then, but actually bring it to fruition is this much, and then actually do something with it once they start, type deal. And I said, I don't know if it's going to be a year, 5 years, 10 years, but one day I want to do my own thing. And he's like, cool. In the meantime, but let's go make a crap ton of money together, right? And because he saw where this dude's going to, 10 years more or less in the roofing world, and he can literally bring me $1.5 million of revenue, and I don't spend any money on marketing, ad spend, any of that.
No
He's
golden goose for him.
Yeah, always like, oh yeah, come on over, buddy. Like, yeah, we'd love to have you, right? Smart move on his end. Yeah. I didn't know any different.
Right.
And so left there in summer of 18, and August 1st of 2019 started and opened State 48 Roofing by myself. So I didn't have any extra cash, no extra money, no helpers, no investors, no partners, no nothing. Just straight bootstrap. Your stereotypical, bootstrap story. That was me. And like I said, August of 2019. It was me, Dory, who's now my COO, and a couple named Mexicans, awesome, named Jesus and Angelica. And they were my two-man. Whoops. They were my two-man crew. Sorry, I think I'm talking to Siri. And the four of us, we started with 4 people.
Wow.
So that was fun. Yeah.
So from that to 10 trucks just a few years later, I mean, I'm sure sales are like crazy.
Yeah, so from August of 19 till the end of the year, we did $1 million. I was thinking small, like don't be a little bitch, right? As Grant says.
Yeah.
Thinking small mentality. And I was like, because work comp, they try and like budget you out. They're like, okay, how much revenue are you going to do so we can, getting, just annihilated. Yeah. And I was like, we'll do $350,000 in revenue. And he's like, oh, cool. And we did $1 million. So I literally tripled my work comp. So they came back to audit me. They're like, you owe us $40,000 in 10 days. And I'm like, don't forget, small business owner, just me, no extra cash, bootstrap the entire thing. I'm like, holy crap. And so I don't even know how we paid for it, but somehow we made it happen. But yeah, so August end of the year, we did $1 million. Then 2020, pandemic, mask, COVID, Biden, all that bull crap happened. And we did $3.85 million, our first full 12 months in business.
In the pandemic year?
During the pandemic.
Okay.
And they're like, well, Jason, you were essential. A lot of people were essential.
Right.
But I don't let the government, I don't let a church, I don't let a school, I don't let any one person, one thing control my destiny. I control my destiny. And there's, I don't say loopholes, but you just have to pivot and adjust. Like a ton of big gyms and trainers and dudes tanked and now are selling insurance, right? Right. But other guys shifted and pivoted, and Nate, my buddy, is killing it. He's making $300K a year during the pandemic as a trainer when other people are literally closing shop. Right. So that was I didn't even let it. I was so focused and so dialed in. We call it the shotgun effect. Right, we shoot from the hip in a shotgun. It's a huge spread. When you go sniper and you're dialed in exactly what your target is and what you want, and that's what I did. So we did 3.85 in 2020. We did $7 million in 2021. Nice. Same thing. I was thinking small. We had a $5 million goal. We hit that at Halloween. I said, cool, let's shoot for $6 million before the end of the year. We hit 6 at Thanksgiving. And I was like, cool, let's shoot for 7. Yeah. And sure enough, between Christmas and New Year's, we cleared $7 million. So
that is an amazing story. Let's dive in a little bit on that, because to create those kind of numbers, you got to have a business that's fully operational, systems, processes. Where did you learn that? How did you get everything in place to be able to grow to those numbers?
So a lot of it, I guess, is just when you see when you're bursting at the seams in a certain department, then you go higher. And my thing is, and you're gonna hear the name Grant Cardone 1,000 times during this because it's just that's who I eat, sleep, drink. I personally don't think there's a better marketer in the world. He's a billionaire, so there's only a handful of those guys. So I'm gonna listen to that guy.
Right.
But I mean, we were talking, off camera. I mean, the John Stories, the Ed Milet's, the Sean Whalen, those dudes. I mean, some of those guys, they're cranking and they're killing it in life, but like some of those guys don't have the word B behind their name. It's not boss, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like I said, I've been all of Grant's growth cons and whatnot, and my thing, he said, as a business owner, you focus on two things. He said, sales and marketing. He's like, outsource everything else, and not outsource as in like third party, outsource as in delegate that to somebody else. So I was very blessed to have Dory, who I knew mutually from roofing and restoration world, to bring her in and hire her as an office manager. And I said, hey, I was like, here's $60,000 a year, and I'm gonna give you 1% gross of anything we do. So if we do 10 million, you're making 100K plus your 60. If we do 2 million or whatever that number looks like, you're gonna get and she's here for life.
Yeah.
And I did that from day one because she wanted 6 figures of the get go. Just as negotiations, and I said, no, we need to get this in. So I got her in, and she was heaven on earth from day one, because I didn't have to worry about payroll. I didn't have to worry about. I was also doing production, right? So I had to do, when you're that small, you wear all the hats.
Yep.
I didn't have to wear the auditing, the insurance, that kind of the payroll back end stuff. But I was doing production, so I was pulling the trailers and the trucks and the scheduling and the crews and all that stuff, right? And little by little, I realized I'm like, I can't do this on my own. If I want to grow, I need to. And I had a $3 to $5 million blueprint from my uncle's company.
Yeah.
I was at Griffin where they did 17 million. They did 7 in restoration. I think it was 4 in residential, 6 in commercial. So I got to see a bigger blueprint only for a year, but I was outside sales.
Right.
So I didn't really see that much of what was going on, but he'd been doing it for 20 plus years at that size. And so I was like, it's very simple. I'm like, what do you suck at? I was like, I suck at paperwork, organization, and all the back end crap. Cool. Okay, so hire gal or girl. In this case, is all ladies, right? I was like, so I hired Dory. Dory got an assistant underneath her to help do all that stuff. So taking the appointments, I wasn't taking the phone calls. They were taking the phone calls and scheduling the appointments. And I said, okay, cool. I only have one 2-man crew. Well, to do a full roof, one 2-man crew is going to take you weeks. Right? Take you a long time to do a 4,000 square foot roof. So I said, I need a crew. So I went out and got a crew. And a lot of them, when you build your reputation and your relationships, it always comes back tenfold.
Yes.
So I had crews from Payne, I had crews from Griffin, I had crews from other places. Not me going to them coming to me saying, hey, heard you started your own company. You need crews? Yes, I do. And so I already had a relationship where I'd done hundreds, plural, of jobs with these guys. And about October is when they came over and started working for me. And so I got crews. I was like, I don't even have a hammer in my truck on purpose.
Yeah.
It's not my niche. It's not what I do. I know how a roof needs to go on, and I put on a roof before, but I lose money if I pull out my hammer.
Right.
So I got the crews, and then I was like, okay, cool. And then after a while, sometime in 2020, I decided, I'm like, hey, I can't do all this production stuff by myself. I can't go, if we're going to do $3.5 million, I can't go sell all of it or most of it. And I brought in another sales rep right away. And I said, okay, well, instead of me having the burden of all the sales, what if I brought in somebody, gave him a cut, and said, hey, help me sell. Okay, cool. So I had a guy come in and he did $1 million for me. So I did 3.5, he did it. I did 2.5, and he did 1 type deal. And I said, okay, cool. Wait, that worked.
Yeah.
So let's do it again. And so I brought another sales rep. And I'm like, hey, because I was so focused on marketing and sales that I was able to now distribute that payload and that burden to hire a sales rep. People are just so scared that they're like, if I give that sales rep money, that's my money.
Yeah.
I'm like, no. That is your money, but you're looking for growth and you're looking 5 years down the road.
Right.
These guys are looking for, a 6-figure job.
And if they're bringing in new gross, it doesn't matter. Bring in as much as possible. I'll pay you your percentage.
Right.
It's new money.
Right. And I was like, the company still makes money. I was cutting myself a check if I did the sale apart from the ownership.
Right.
So they weren't taking ownership money, they were just taking sales money. So I was like, let's take that and give it and delegate it to somebody. And so I did that. Now I just hired my 6th sales rep, which just started a week ago.
Awesome.
But I've been pushing at least 4 or 5 for a while.
And what does training look like with your salespeople? Do you train them individually?
So the best thing that I learned from going to all the growth cons is Cardone University. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah.
So I have 17 people on Cardone University training on a daily basis.
Oh, wow.
Now it is sales specific, but it talks about culture. It talks about appointment setting, cold calls, door knocking. And so it's not just like how to close the deal at the dinner table. It talks about culture and a lot of mental mindset, right? Because you have these guys that are making $40,000, $30,000, $50,000 a year, but then like they just get put in a hamster wheel. With Cardone University, and I pay over $2,500 a month for this coaching program. So we train every single day for 30 minutes, and then we have a 30-minute coaching call every morning at 8:30. So if you try and call me between 8:30 and 9, you'll never get a hold of me. And that's why I was like, we can't do it at 8. We can do it at 9:30 when I'm done. From 8:30 to 9 is my religious time with my team. We all go hop on a Zoom. My guys literally will pull over if they're on the freeway or at a job site, a supply house. Everybody stops and pull over. Now I have about 60 employees, but my main staff, so production, sales, and admin, there's about 17 of us, 18 of us, and we all hop on this call every day. So we train via Cardone University, which is a sales training platform, for 30 minutes every day. And then once a week we have a coaching call with someone from Grant's office named Matt Rogers, and he's our coach. So it's an accountability call. Talks about what we learned over the week, and then what he's going to introduce for the next week. Wins, all that kind of stuff. So the burden's not on me necessarily. Now we do have a sales meeting once a week as well to go, because Grant doesn't talk about roofing ever, right? Yeah. It's not vague, but it's generic. It's general, right? It's generalized sales, which is still amazing. You could blow your brains out in any industry,
right?
But my guys need the roofing specific tweaks and this and that. Like, hey, what's the difference between tile and a shingle and that kind of stuff. Or closing tools via the roofing world. And so we have that once a week. I just hired a sales manager, but I wasn't doing that till I was over 7 million. So that was me. I was in control of it. And so that's the thing that we do. So we have Cardone University every single day. We're huge into Bomb. I'm sure you've heard of Bomb. We do Bombs like crazy back and forth. We have group text. But we also, like I said, every one of my employees work on personal development every single day, 7 days a week.
That's amazing. I mean, that's a culture that you're building that will pay, 1,000-fold at some point, because when people are interested in their self-development and they're not, going to be just stuck where they're at, they get off the hamster wheel. Yes. And then those are intrapreneurs that you have in the business, and that's how you grow super fast, like you have.
Yeah, I got probably 10 of those intrapreneurs that you're talking about, where they're like, dude, I don't want the OSHA complaints and the lawsuits and the ROCs and the trucks. And one of my sales reps, you can either buy your own truck and I give you like a vehicle allowance, or I wrap it and I wrap it for free, or I literally buy a vehicle and wrap it and I put you in it. You get a smaller cut, but I pay the insurance, I pay the gas, the maintenance, all that stuff. You get a smaller cut so I can pay for that. One of my trucks got sideswiped from a box truck, just wiped him out entirely. Ooh. And but yeah, like those are the things. But he's like, the next day he hopped in another one of my trucks and was off to the races. Right. Now I got to take on all that crap. So the intrapreneur is an amazing thing where people are like, hey, I want to create my own ecosystem within the ecosystem, right? And I love it. I think it's great. And some people are like, I don't want to take on a $65,000 a week payroll. They're like, but I do want to like generate my own leads and do my own social media and do this and do that. And I'm like, dude, like fully support it. Right? Absolutely. But the culture really helps out, because Brandon Dawson, who is Grant's right-hand man, right, runs 10X Ventures, Cardone Ventures and 10X 360 and all that stuff. They're right here in Scottsdale. He and his wife, Natalie, and they talk about that. And we talk about having each employee has their own goals. So we have personal goals, professional goals, and financial goals. So only one of the 3 is business based, and so the other 6 are personal. But they fill them out. They give them to me and Dory, and we look at them and we try and help them reach their own goals. Because if I can help my own people reach their own goals, they're going to be motivated as heck.
Right.
If they're hitting their goals, I'm guaranteed to hit mine. Plain and simple. Because they're going to be so motivated to make more money and to be better at their job for a raise or promotion or a bigger commission or a slice of the pie or whatever.
Yeah.
That to hit their personal goals. But if I don't know what their goals are, that's where the hamster wheel comes in. Like, nobody from University of Phoenix or State Farm was like, hey, Josh, let's talk to you about your goals and how you can, what do you want to do in life? And you want to pay off your debt, and you want to buy a car, and how you want to get into a house, and you want to, get a second property or whatever. In the corporate world, nobody talks about that.
Right.
So that's where literally the hamster wheel feel is the thing. The whole 9 to 5 thing it's a hamster wheel with no opportunity, but they get you with the 401ks and the benefits and all that bull crap. And I think it's absolute crap. And I think there should be room and growth for entrepreneurialism inside of a small business.
Absolutely, because it allows people to be creative. And like when you get people at their creative source and they're knowing that they're helping the bigger good and you've got a mission and they're part of it, but they don't have to take care of the things that they're really bad at. Yeah. Kind of similar to you, but now you're taking care of things that they don't want to take care of.
Right,
which is kind of crazy.
When you're an entrepreneur, you have to wear all the hats. You can't be like, I'm going to do sales, but I'm not going to do this until you scale enough to where you can. So some people are like, I hate social media. I don't like Dory. Dory hates social media. She's doing better now. It's taking me 3 years to get her to freaking get an Instagram profile to start promoting the company.
Right.
It's taking her 3 years. That's not what she does. I post 15 times a day, literally. That's why I use, anytime someone be seeing on social media, I always tell people, I'm like, when you go take your shit in the morning, like say hi to Jason, because you're gonna see me on your phone. Plain and simple. It's just but I love it, and that's my niche, and that's what I do. Yeah. But when you're an entrepreneur, you don't have to like go out of your shell because you can stay in your department or in your own ecosystem,
right?
But still thrive.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. Well, let's talk about social media because you are really good at it, and let's talk to people that maybe are their own, own their own business and aren't out there, aren't doing the videos. What do you recommend to them? Like, what does that blueprint look like?
So I don't reinvent the wheel. So this is not like, social media according to Jason. I follow the guys that are killing it. Hermosy's one of them.
Yeah.
He's actually on the bottom of that, believe it or not, for how big he is and what he's doing. Brad Lee, he talks about he says post 4 times a day. Grant says, until your people are saying, hey, stop sending me emails, you're emailing me too much. He's like, that's when you're starting to barely crack the surface of how much content you should be putting out. But the rule of thumb is about 4 times a day on all platforms.
Okay.
And so that's what I do. I don't even have my phone in my pocket right now. Like we're literally recording this. I don't even have my phone literally in my pocket, right? Yours is up here. Yeah. Mine's down here because if your phone is in your pocket, you lose an opportunity for a selfie, a picture, a video, a testimonial, a tip that you can share and put out into the universe. What happens is people focus so much on personal development and building themselves up, they don't share that. They're selfish. So not to get all churchy, but like when you talk about the parable of the 10 talents, right? Yep. So you have the 1, the 5, and the 10. And the 10 goes and doubles, the 5 goes and doubles, and the 1 puts his head in the sand and,
comes back with a 1.
Hides it, and he's like, what the crap, dude? He's like, I gave you 1, you came back with 1. It's like, nobody wins here, right?
I'm taking your 1 and giving it to the other
guys. It's like, and I'm going to go give it to the dude that brought me 20, right? And so that's what it comes down to with social media, is people think because the general media and the government and all that bullcrap and the school systems tell you, don't get attention, don't be loud, don't be obnoxious, and if you do that, you're egotistical, you're prideful, you're condescending, you're a narcissist, you're all these things. And what it comes down with me is I worked my butt off, like I said, from 2010, we're 2022, so I'm pushing 13 years in the roofing world of being a business owner for 3 of that, being a sales manager for part of it, production manager, and knowing the roofing world. Like, why would you keep those nuggets and that value inside of you? Because all it does is help you. You're not helping other people unless you fix the roof, unless you do that. And people think that has to be a tangible service, but it's not. So in the tech world, right, like I have the opportunity to bless the lives of other people by adding value, whether it's a motivational quote, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a book, whatever the case may be. And so, and then you have the whole roofing, its own ecosystem over here. And so by doing that, there's unlimited content that you can be giving out that you might bless the lives of somebody else. And that's even as simple as working out.
Right.
Right? It was like, Jason, nobody cares that you worked out today. You say, #dues paid. And I'm like, you don't see that. But I personally get DMs.
Yeah.
Dude, thank you so much for yelling at me on social media or posting that, or, you sweating or with your vest or whatever. He's like, you motivated me, guy or girl, to get that workout in today. Because I woke up uninspired. We all wake up uninspired. It's part of life, right? Nobody wakes up inspired to like, I'm going to go freaking die at the gym today.
Yeah. Right?
Nobody wants to do that. I'm going to go do 100 follow-up phone calls. Nobody wakes up excited to do that. You're all full of shit. It's not a thing. It's fake.
Yeah.
But the discipline, right? Jocko Willing talks about that. I know there's like, I don't wake up motivated. I wake up disciplined, right? Like I go and get that in. But when you put it out there in social media world, like where do we get our content from? Like we used to get it from books. We still get it from books, but books turn into audibles that we can now listen to while we're walking or working out or driving around.
Right.
And then it's now to social media. Like I don't go watch cat videos on social media. I go listen to my mentors.
Right.
That I would normally only get them back in the 80s and 90s. You could only do that when you had to physically fly or drive to a conference.
Yeah.
Right. And you might get their book if they had written a book. But now social media, like I go onto social media not to watch the cat videos. I go on there to follow my mentors and those that are doing bigger, better, faster, stronger.
Absolutely.
And so I have people, especially in the roofing world, that are like, hey, I did, one of my buddies, Eric Perry, he did 1.6 last year. He's like, Jason, you did 7, I did 1.6. I can learn from you. Will you coach me? Sure. And so, but he had no idea who I was, except for social media. And he started following me. And then once with all the content that I push out over and over and over again, he's like, dude, this guy's dropping value. He's dropping nuggets. He's like, I'm learning from him, whether it's who to hire, when to hire, how to hire, what kind of roofing materials to use, and the warranties and the workmanship and all that kind of stuff. Or it's simply as, hey, you're thinking too small. Right? Like, stop thinking too small. You really are capable of doing this, but you and your brain say you're doing here, and then you settle for here.
Yeah.
Like, no. Shoot here, and if you only hit here, cool. But guess what? You're way further along. That's the whole 10x mentality. Right? But social media is a way for you to connect with thousands of people immediately. Like, how long would it take you to get with 1,500 people? Or 3,000 or 5,000
on an individual
people?
basis?
Individual basis.
Oh, man, it would take weeks, months, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? And now you're talking where Grants and these guys have millions or hundreds of thousands of followers. You're talking years, decades to reach that many people. Social media has shrunken that time down. And so instead of having to do, 3,000 podcasts to get to those 3,000 people or whatever it's there. Andy Frisell is a huge one, right? He has several different podcasts, and he records content. He records a podcast
every day.
Every freaking day.
Yeah.
He's in the studio every single day with a different niche here and there. And so my thing, I was like, well, if they're doing it, it works, and I feel like I have value and I can give something to someone. And people just think like, well, I'm not a roofer, so Josh can't learn from me. No. So don't only give roofing nuggets. That's why I have my Jason the Roofer page, because it's not just roofing. If you go to my State 48 page, it is only roofing. You go to State 48 Roofing, you're only going to get roofing intentionally. Right? But like the Jason the Roofer is like, dude, I'm a dad. I have 5 kids. I'm married. I have an amazing hot wife. I'm a business owner. So there's so many branches. People are just thinking too small.
Yeah, right.
The point is, put it out into the universe, because it'll come back tenfold. And that's where Menace came in. Plain and simple.
Yeah, so let's talk about Menace, because, I mean, obviously, we're hearing your mentality, and I think it kind of culminates into that brand. How did you come up with it?
So, Menace, I actually didn't come up with it. My buddy Terrence did via a friend named James when we were in San Diego. We were at a mini mastermind that our third partner, Nick Trevelyan, was hosting. And we've done like 1 or 2 of those, but 10, 12, 15 dudes, like-minded guys wanting to grow, crush it, whatever. And Nick lives in San Diego, so we went to Coronado Island and got a room there at the Hilton or Marriott or whatever. And afterwards, we were having breakfast, and it was still like the pandemic scaring the mask crap. And they actually, the lady says, hey, you guys can order from the menu here. It's outside, no mask. But if you want to do the buffet, you can, but you have to literally put on a mask to go inside type thing.
Right, yeah.
And Terrence is like, just like me, he's like anti-mask. He's like, you won't find me wearing a mask. He's like, he's like, I'm trying to make so much money where I can fly private to where I don't have to wear a mask to get on a plane, type deal. And this was, like I said, it was January of this year, which, but that was their rules. And he's like, no thanks, I'll take a slice of freedom instead.
Yeah.
As like he literally was like, oh, I'll take a slice of freedom, and then she's like,
I like that.
And James was like, dude, he's like, you're a menace.
Yeah.
And it didn't hit anybody, but it pierced Terrence's soul. And when you hear something just shakes you, you're like, hey, that was meant for me, whatever it is, and that was it. And that was literally January of this year. So it was just an idea. I wasn't involved. Nick wasn't involved. We didn't have swag, none of that stuff. It was just an idea in January. I said, hey, we need to do another conference, and Terrence will have you all host it, or I'll pay for it, or I'll sponsor it, or whatever. And then Nick's like, hey, we need to bring it back again because it was such a great conference. 2 days with these 12, 15 people in there. It was awesome. All entrepreneurs, business owners, realtors, construction, and everywhere in between. And he's like, okay, we'll do one in the fall. I was like, no, what are you doing right now? And so that's where I went to I was getting hit up over and over and over again to do coaching, individual coaching. I'm like, individual coaching is great, but you either have to charge them a ton of money. I'm like, those 2 or 3 hours, I could be going and creating relationships or building my roofing company or doing whatever for me to, get, you to pay me, a couple $100, few $100. I'm like, that's
doesn't move the needle.
Yeah, it doesn't move the needle. I love that analogy. I use that analogy all the time. It doesn't move the needle. It doesn't excite me. And so I had people pulling out their checkbook to coach, and I'm like, holy cow. And ironically, Terrence was doing that, and Nick has always been doing that. He's been a business coach for a while. And so literally all 3 stars, he said, why don't we just do this together? So about March, April is really when things started going crazy and vamping up. We're like, hey, well, let's do it. It originally was, it was originally a menace to society.
Okay.
Because he felt it was a menace, and I feel like you're a menace too, people don't understand you. You're a freak.
Totally.
People are like, this Josh guy, or this Jason guy, or this Terrence guy, I just can't relate with you guys talking about, bitching and moaning about gas prices. I'm like, that's your focus? Grant literally posted, I think today, he's like, my focus has never been gas price. My focus is, it costs 50,000 gallons or whatever a year just to put the fuel, not the cost of the fuel, 50,000 gallons a year just to fuel my plane, right? Wow. And he's like, that's what I'm focused on. And I'm focused on getting the pilots to fly my plane. And now I got to get speaking engagements or properties to go look at via my plane to pay for it. He's like, so my focus is the pilots, where to go, where to take the plane, and then the 50,000 gallons of fuel to pay for it. Not gas went up $1, $2, $3. Right. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And it was just like, right? So the menace thing is going against everything that the government tells you, especially right now. Society is the norms, people accepting all this other random crap. And in the entrepreneurial world, right? Stay small, be a solopreneur. You don't have to worry about employees and systems and all this overhead and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, we teach the exact opposite. Right. And so that's where I was brought in, Jason, and we're on track to do, we already had a $1 million month this year in June.
Huge.
And we're gonna hit $1 million by not the end of this podcast, but by the end of the week.
Nice.
By this weekend, we'll hit $1 million in August, and we're shooting for $10 million, and I'm bound to hit it by Thanksgiving.
Big numbers, and it hadn't even been that rainy this season.
No, because the other part too, and that's the thing about being a menace is I don't let government, school, and even Mother Nature. Right. Because this is not a dig to my uncle, it's just facts. I was told, when it rains, we'll make money. When it rains, the phone will ring. When it rains, but wait until it rains. Wait until monsoon season. I'm like, dude, monsoon season is only 3 months out of the year. Yeah. Just like air conditioning. Cool. Of course you can kill it when it's 107. Anybody and their mom can do AC when it's 115 outside.
I like making money the other 9 months too.
Right. Yeah. It's like, okay, so 3 months you kill it. You have these monster, double, triple, revenue months. What about the other 9 months? When you still have overhead, and you still have payroll, and you still have, all these things. I'm like, I do not bank on any weather for the year. My business plan is strategically set up where I don't care what the government says, I don't care what the school system says, I don't care what the church says, I don't care what society says. I am going to make money every single month of the year because of my actions and my intentions and where we're going. And I don't let Now, if we have monsoon season, does it help? Sure, it does. It's icing on the cake. But I still am building the cake, right? If the icing comes, cool. If not, I am still building my cake, no matter what. And so that was one of my biggest things. I'm like, because we would have these killer months, and then one year we just sucked air one year because we didn't have any rain. I don't remember what year it was, between 2010 and 2018. One of those years we didn't have any rain, and we had a really shitty year. I killed it in sales, but the company itself struggled. And I'm like, dude, there's no consistency here. This is a roller coaster. And the only time the roller coaster is fun is when it's a roller coaster. But when it's your marriage and it's your life, it'd be like, life is roller coasters. No, it's not.
Yeah, that's a mentality that it's a roller coaster.
Exactly.
And if you have that mentality, you're going to wait for the rain. But if you have the right mentality, you're going to make it rain, right?
Right. And so exactly. I make it rain when it's not raining. And that's my mindset with my team. That's my mindset with my marketing. That's my mindset with everything. So when monsoon season comes, sales become easier. Closing ratios increase because Mother Nature is helping you. You're not doing anything extra to have those killer months. Mother Nature is helping you get those killer months.
Right.
But like I said, my thing is I want to be doing $1 million a month. It puts me at 12 mil. We're shooting for 15 million next year. And so it's like we shoot for until we hit $1 million, we're not satisfied. And it goes that goes everything. My production team, my admin team, my sales team, marketing, like until we hit $1 million, we don't even give each other slaps on the back or the butt. Like that's where we go, and that's our mindset going forward. But like I said, it's all about the mindset. Right. But the mindset is if you turn on the radio, if you turn on the TV, and the media, the general media, and the government and the schools and all that crap, like you're not gonna get that.
No. Set up for failure for your mind. In fact, if you're listening to all those outside
exact
sources.
Opposite.
Yep.
Yeah, and think about schools. Like, do I love my 5th grade teacher? Sure, but like high school and especially college, all they're doing, that is a farm for the middle class and for corporate America.
Right.
Well, I don't want anything to do with the middle class, and I don't want to be part of corporate America. I'm anti-corporate America, right? So I'm like, so if I go to college, what is that going to do? It's going to literally farm me and my mindset to go to a 9-to-5 corporate job. So I only lasted like 2 or 3 semesters at Chandler Gilbert, and I was like, this is stupid.
Hey, you lasted one more than me at Chandler Gilbert. I did 2.
There you go.
Yep.
I think I did 3. I don't remember. It was a blur.
I dropped out when I was 19.
Yeah, and I was like, this is the dumbest thing in the world. I'm like, why am I doing this? So I was working like 40, 60 hours a week, and then I was doing classes at night from 4 to 10, 2 days a week. And I'm like, this is not helping me at all. So because I stopped, I got 4 more years of labor experience.
Right.
Which helped me, slingshot me or catapult me into where I'm at now. The thing with Menace is, and that's why you can join our Menace in Business Facebook page. It's free. It is actually closed, so it's not open to the public. We allow you in to not get the spam and all the randoms. But that's what we do. So we've created this community and this culture for people, for winners, big doers, thinkers that want to, like I said, want to do the crazy things where everybody else tells you it's dumb, it's not going to work, you're crazy, why would you do that? Be grateful, content, mediocrity, all that stuff gets pushed out. So when you come to the Menace world and the Menace ecosystem, I'm crazy, awesome, I love crazy, come be my friend, right? And I'm a freak. I've been told I'm a freak. And Jason, you're loud and obnoxious. Okay, if you're loud and obnoxious, come hang out with me, come be my friend. And so that's what we've done with Menace, and that's where we had MenaceCon. So like I said, we started in January. It was just an idea from Terrence to where we hooked up about March, really April. And then we had May, June, and July. We had the conference the last weekend in July. So we had about 100 days to throw this conference. We said, hey, let's have a conference. And thinking small, we naturally think small. We just do. Because our body, I forgot I was listening to like a podcast. Maybe it was Grant or Andy or somebody. But they said, naturally, when you get beat up, and even the UFC guys, when they're losing and they're hurt, what position do they go into?
Defense.
Fetal.
Yeah, fetal, yeah.
Fetal, why? Because that's where you came out. You came out in the fetal position. So that's a defense move. So naturally they crouch in like this, and they go into the defense fetal position because that's where your body goes into defense mode. That's what it does. It doesn't, if you're getting the crap beaten out of you, nobody's, maybe David Goggins, right?
Yeah.
Nobody spreads their arms and legs and says, hey, keep going, man, keep going, let's do this. Like, no, naturally you shrink and you curl more and more until you're in the fetal position.
Right.
Because your body naturally goes into defense mode.
When you see it happen in business a lot too, especially if they're going through tough times.
Right.
My business partner, my mentor, he calls it the death spiral. They stop advertising and then they start cutting employees. And guess what? No leads come in, no sales come in, and they naturally go there because they get defensive.
Yeah. And so I've always one of our core values is actually throw your wallet over the fence. And this came from like 4 different tiers, and I'm sure some big wig came up with it. But so I'm not taking credit for it. But throw your wallet over the fence. It was a cowboy that had a hat, and his hat went over a barbed wire fence, and the hat flew over it. And he's like, whatever. He's like, not a problem. I have I have a bunch of hats. It's a hat, whatever. I have a bunch of hats. And then they said, okay, well. He said, well, what if I throw my wallet over the fence? Throws his wallet over right next to that hat. How much more motivated is he now to go get that wallet and the hat?
Yep.
Why? Because he doesn't have all these hats. His wallet, he's got a credit card in there, his driver's license, all that stuff.
Value just increased
money.
on the other side of the fence.
Right. So now how much more motivated is he to go get that hat?
Way more.
So and that's what our mentality is when it comes to marketing. Right? People overthink and underdo. Plain and simple. And so the second you start thinking about something, it should take you seconds to decide. When you said, hey, Jason, will come on a podcast? Yes or no? Not like, got to look at my schedule. Is Josh his core values? And like, is he going to like introduce me to somebody? Is he going to like try and close me on something?
Yeah.
Is it a sales pitch? It was no, yes or no.
Right.
It's very simple.
Yeah, we were in Quick Trip and you were like that. Yeah, absolutely.
Decision making is not hard. But what happens is the second you think about it, you start to self-sabotage because your mental mindset naturally goes into that defense mode. So you have to train it. That's why David Goggins talks about the mental callus, right? Like you have calluses on your head. It's like, but what about the mental callus in your brain? So I almost don't turn down anything. In regards to the marketing world, because it's an opportunity for growth. It's an opportunity to generate another relationship. It's an opportunity to get more exposure.
Right.
Like your truck wraps. Like I was told, truck wraps are dumb, huge waste of money. Back to them, they're like $2,200, $2,500. Now they're like $300, $300. But like huge waste of money. You're not going to get ROI. Let's just put some vinyl stickers and a magnet. I said okay, and then I wrapped one, and then like I said, my company is all wrapped. And like I get text messages and screenshots on a daily basis about all of our trucks.
Yeah.
Jason, what's up, man? I was like, that's not me. That's one of my guys. And I'm like, and now they know that I'm in my Menace truck. And so I got tagged yesterday. Hey, there goes Menace, dude. I was in Scottsdale. Somebody took I know who it was, but somebody's like, hey, there goes the Menace guy or Jason the roofer or whatever, and tagged me. And so it's all about getting attention because being a small business owner, it's all about omnipresence. It's all about brand recognition. If they don't know you, they can't flow you, right? That was one of Grant's sayings. And that's like, by putting that stuff in my ears over and over and over and over again, I hadn't read a book except for the Book of Mormon, to be honest, from when I was 18, 19 till I was about 29. I'm 35.
Okay.
So I started to read books at 29 because Nick, my buddy, my partner, who was killing it in the real estate world, then I went in and said, hey, it's like, give me a book, give me something to read. What can I consume? I was like, I'm sick of being broke. What do I do? And he's like, check out this guy, Grant Cardone. And he gives me the 10X rule. And I read it, and I was like, dude, this guy's my spirit animal.
Yeah.
And what it came down to was he's like, and he still says this. I think he said it yesterday in one of his emails that I'm on. And he literally said, the average millionaire, I was like, I want to be a millionaire. I want to make FU money. I want to have, not like, I'm saying the paycheck to paycheck crap, like robbing Peter to pay Paul, whether it's personal or in the business world.
Yeah.
And he's like, the average millionaire reads 50, I think he said 50 or 60, 52, a book a week. So he reads 60 books a year and goes to 6 conferences a year. So a conference is every other month. And a book is once a week. And I was like, I go to maybe 1 conference a year. This is before I went to his first growth con. I've been to 6 out of 7. One I didn't go to because my wife had a baby. But I've been to every single growth con. But before he even had his first, I started listening to his stuff, just barely before his first growth con. And I said, okay, cool. And I did self-awareness, reflection. I said, okay, so I haven't read a book. I used to think reading books was dumb, the whole nerd thing, right? Like, I don't need to read a book. I'm like, I'm cool, I'm funny, I'm social, I'll figure it out. And he's like, the average millionaire reads a book a week. I'm like, I read 0. I was like, oh, okay, there's a huge gap.
Yeah.
And you go to 6 conferences a year, and I'm like, I think I do 1 not intentionally, like because my uncle or somebody would like recommend it or make me go to it, or like as a social event. But for lack of better words, I'm 0 for 6 there. So I'm 0 for 52 and 0 for 6. And I want to be a millionaire. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to say that's not all it takes, but that's all it takes to get started.
Right.
And so I started doing that. So when I was 29, I started reading books like crazy, audibles like crazy. And I remember, I think I got to like 30 books out of 52 weeks. But that from there, it just became a drug.
Yeah.
Of just consuming the Ed Milet's, the Andy Frisellas, the Sean Whalens, the Grant Cardones. Even Elena has a book out. Ed Milet's Power of One More just came out.
Oh, that's great.
The 10X Mentor, the on Audible just came out. And so consuming that stuff, because I remember, and I still, to this day, I still have friends that are like, hey, did you hear the new country song that came out? And I'm like, I haven't listened to a country song. I love music.
Yeah.
I love country. I love, not some rap, right? But like, I love music. I love the old school, like, All American Rejects and Jimmy Eat World and Something Corporate and Dashboard and all those guys, right?
Yeah.
Story of the Year. But I'm like, I realize that those guys never make me more money. Those guys are never going to add value.
Yeah.
Ever. There's not. No song is going to add value to your life. It's just not. And so for a time, I mentally punched and pulled out my radio out of my truck. I'm like, I'm never going to listen to the radio again. And TV, I wasn't really a big TV guy, like shows guy, like a binge watcher type thing. I love my sports, don't get me wrong. Like I'll sit and watch, I can watch golf or bowling or poker for hours.
Amen.
Yeah. Football, baseball, basketball, die hard, not a season ticket holder for ASU and all that stuff. But the point I'm trying to make is, I realized that driving around 10, 12 hours a day in my truck, looking at roofs and doing the appointments and all that stuff, I would turn on, listen to 104.7, 101.5, 102.5, 107.9. And then once Grant said that, like the 100th time I finally got into my brain, like, listen and read to more books.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. And that's where it switched.
It's funny because I had almost the same experience. When I was 19,
Awesome.
I got into Amway of all things, right? I got talked into Amway. Okay. But I will tell you, the biggest things I learned was, number one, leaders are readers. So I hadn't read a book. I'd read one book. Mine was One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest in high school. And he hands me Magic Thing Big. He gives me 3 chapters, 2, 12, and 13. And I'm like, well, I can do that. I can read 3 chapters. And then the first one was on excuse-itis. And I'm like, oh boy. And I read this chapter, and I'm like, okay. So that year, I read over 20 books. And then from there on, I mean, I became an avid reader. But when it came to being in the car, they had CDs and stuff, old Amway CDs. And they're like, turn your wheels into a university. I'm like, that makes sense to me. I did the same thing. I didn't listen to a song for 5 years in my car unless it was me and my wife going on a trip or something. But if it was me driving around, and it made the entire world shift for me by doing that and like getting your brain on that kind of stuff. So I love it.
Even we went to Utah for a family trip or whatever. I think it was literally last year or 2 years ago, and I had my AirPods in. And my wife, like we get to like from Phoenix, we get to Vegas. We went the Vegas route, and she got out of the truck or the car, and she's pissed. I'm like, what is your problem? She's like, you didn't say a word to me for 4.5 hours. And I was like, did you want to talk? I'm sorry. And she's like, what are you? And I wasn't like scrolling on Instagram or Facebook. I was literally listening to an Audible. And I got out of the truck. I'm pumped. I'm jacked. I'm motivated. I'm fired up. And she's pissed. And I'm like, what are you pissed about? And she's like, you literally like put your AirPods in and like checked out. And I'm like, and it was amazing. And I'm so used to doing it because I don't have anybody in the truck with me. But I was like, oh, I'll probably put those away and have a conversation with my wife. But that's it. It becomes a drug because of the knowledge. I mean, Warren Buffett reads 4 hours a day type deal. And I'm like, extremisms, but the dude, suddenly multi-billionaire, right? Doing okay. And so I just like, it comes to, I think Ryan Stewman, you know Ryan Stewman?
Yeah. Apex.
Yeah, Apex. I think it was Ryan, and I know it was Andy, and Andy and Ed have Arte. Right?
Yeah, I'm in the Arte.
I'm in Arte too, okay. So I know it was Ed and Andy, and I think it had to been Ryan Stewman. It was a third party that's not in business with them, that he went to dinner with them one time, and he said, hey, like over the next 12 months, like how do you gauge off of if you're gonna be successful or not? What are you doing? And Ed said 3 things. He said the books you read, the podcasts you listen to, and your circle of influence. Right, the 5 people you hang out with.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and that was recent. That was like the past 12 months. It wasn't like some Zig Ziglar thing from the 90s or 70s on a CD. And I was like, that's absolutely insane. I was like, you're absolutely right. I was like, because I just did I have my own podcast, obviously, right? In Menace business. And I brought in a painter named Ricardo, who's in our M8 coaching program. And I did that with him because he's like, I'm doing this, but he wouldn't hire another crew. I'm like, dude, hire another crew, let's go. I had one crew, and he's out till October. I was like, dude, if I want to paint my house, I'm not waiting 2-3 months for you to get your crap together to paint my house. Like, I want it done before the holidays, whatever, right? I'm like, so you're killing yourself, you're bottlenecking yourself with production. What's going on? And I said, hey, so it just came to me like, hey, let's talk about your 5 people that you hang out with. And I said, name them off. And literally, I wrote them all down, named them off. And he had a realtor that was making like $150K. I think after splitting commissions, everything was about $100K. So $150K. But the other 4 guys were anywhere between like $30,000 and $50,000. They were friends, family, whatever. And I'm like, dude, and he made 70 last year. He wants to make 150 this year. I was like, you're not going to do it. I was like, no matter what I teach you and what I coach you, those 4 people will have more of an influence than I will because it's 4 against 1. And I don't hang out with you every day. I don't text you every single day. I don't go to parties with you every single day, or go to church with you, or sleep in your bed with you every single day. I was like, but those 4 people, the realtor guy might help you, probably not. But I was like, the other 4 dudes are guaranteed to not help lift you and push you. They're not bad people, right? They're not. You can still be friends with them, but like distance. But I was like, if you're trying to grow your business and you want to kill and you want to do $150K, you can be hanging out with dudes that are doing minimum $150,000 to $500,000.
Right.
Minimum. If not, you do not hang out with them. You do not talk to them. You can be casual friends on Facebook or whatever, but you do not talk to them and collaborate with them and spend quality time with them. You don't.
You know, and people that are hearing this that are new to the concept are probably like, oh man, I don't want to get rid of people.
Jason, must be nice.
Right. But at the end of the day, you're protecting your mind by being around the people that stretch you. I do this, and I learned this a long time ago, but every year I literally sit down and I start to think, who am I spending my time with this last year? Who do I need to cut out and spend less time with? And by doing that, I've been lucky to be the poorest dude in the circle, and it's, you know, someday that'll probably flip, but man, It feels good when you got people that are knowledgeable, that can give you access to things that you don't have access to,
right?
And that's super important.
Well, as I say, never be the smartest man in the room,
right? Exactly.
Right? And I say smart, I think rich. I think never be the richest man in the room, and so that's why I have some employees like, hey, come do this, hey, come do that. Well, yesterday I went to, our roofing company is sponsors with Fox Sports 910, Rock and Menace. And I go on the radio every once in a while. We were doing a job in Scottsdale, just down the street from Twin Peaks. Yeah. Right there on 101 and Shea or Cactus or whatever it is. And they hop day to day to different studios, different restaurants and places where they host they don't do it in a studio. I think they'll do it once a day or once a week in a studio. Anyways, they're at Twin Peaks yesterday. Literally happened yesterday. And I heard them like, oh, we're at Twin Peaks today. I'm like, normally not over there, like drop in and say hi. They'll just like call me when I'm on the phone or in my office to hop on the radio. And I texted my Morocco, said, hey, I'm going to come in and say hi. And so I go in, they're all mic'd up, they got their TVs and their cameras and all that stuff, and they're hosting literally their radio show inside Twin Peaks. Yeah. And but my production manager loves going there for the girls or whatever. And I had another guy, one of my other employees with me. And I brought him in and said, hey, go down and order drinks. I was like, give me a water and a Dr. Pepper to go. Right? And they're like, dude, you're going to stay? And I'm like, no. So I go over and say hi to Rock and Manuch and all of them. Say hi, you know, hop on for a couple seconds on the radio. And then I'm like, hey, I'm going to leave. And they're like, dude, we just ordered drinks. Like, we're going to get food and all that stuff. And I'm like, and with all due respect, I was like, one of them makes like 60, 70 a year. One makes like 90 a year. And I make a little bit more than that, right? Yeah. And I'm like, but people think that because they're your employees, you have to spend quality time with them. It's not the case either. So like I said, be very family members, blood, like actual blood. Just because they're actual blood does not mean that they're going to help you be bigger, better, faster, stronger as a dad, as a husband, as an employee or employer, right? It doesn't mean that because they're actual tangible blood that they're going to help you reach your goals and your dreams, right? Employees, they might want to get there one day, but you've already surpassed them, right? And so to go somewhere you want to go, you got to be around people that have already been there. Right. Plain and simple. And so, like I said, so that's why and people think with the circle of influence is it doesn't have to be tangible. People think if I could call and bring 5 people physically here, who would they be? I'm like, who said it has to be physical? Yeah. Right?
can be a book, or it can be audibles. It can be people that are like a Grant Cardone.
And they literally said, Jason, who are your 5? And they laughed at me, and I was being dead serious. I was like, Grant Cardone, Sean Whalen, Andy Frisella, Ed Milet, and Terrence Berner, who's one of my partners. Mm-hmm. Those 5. No, there's a couple other random Stumans and Ken Clodier and Aaron Wagner and all those dudes. But like, I was like, those like, this is your circle of influence. I'm like, I didn't say I had their cell phones. Mm-hmm. I didn't say I hang out with them and I go to dinner every Friday with them. I just said they influence me the most. And how do I get influence from them? I can't physically go to their office. I don't want to pay $10,000 literally an hour for coaching with Grant, or $5,000 with Bradley. Oh, Bradley's in there too. But I said, but I can read their books and I can listen to their podcasts and I can watch their social media content. And that's all I'm doing is absorbing their stuff. And they're like, my screen time is I average, is it 4 or 6? I know it's a huge gap. It's 4 or 6 hours a day of screen time on my phone. Mm-hmm. I'm like, Jason, that's 1 out of every 6 minutes. 1 every 4 minutes. Like, that's hours and hours. I said, yeah. I was like, but the content, that like my influence is on my phone. Mm-hmm. My influence is not sitting next to me, except for one of my partners. And I just said that. He netted $1 million in December of last year in his real estate business. Wow. I'm like, cool. Yeah. I didn't net $1 million combined all of last year, let alone in a month. Mm-hmm. So I have something to learn from him. So I'm like, I just eat him up, consume him. I'm like, hey, let's talk, let's hang out, let's go to, this and that. And ironically, he happens to be my partner. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to go in with him. Like, this dude's gone places and is going like this in a rocket ship. I want to be on that rocket ship with him. Yep. And so people underestimate, like, your circle of influence is not tangible people that you hang out with or talk with or go to church with or the barbecues with. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean that. So some of you guys do. And so, but like, if your dad works at University of Phoenix making $80,000 a year and you're an entrepreneur, you're naturally going to butt heads. Your mindsets are different. Right. It is what it is. Yeah. And so that's what I started doing.
That's amazing, man. Well, thanks for coming in today. This is awesome. Before we leave, how can people find you for roofing, Menace Con? Let them know, and let's get you some more business and expand your influence.
No, I appreciate it. So the best way to follow me or my team for roofing would be, you can go to Jason the Roofer on Instagram. You can follow me there, or if you want to actually get roofing, like a quote, an inspection, that kind of stuff, you can go to state48roofing.com. We have a contact form you fill out. My team calls you. We send someone out. We get you done. If you want to follow me for podcast type stuff like this, Jason the Roofer. Like I said, it's not very little of it is actually roofing. I'd say 10-20% max. Mm-hmm. But for Menace, at Menace in Business is our Instagram page. And if you want to buy a ticket, like I said, we have MenaceCon coming up at Wild Horse in January. It is, I forgot the exact dates, I think 11th or 13th or something like that. But it's in January, it's on there, but menacecon.com. So menacecon.com, if you want to buy a ticket, we have different tiers. And one of those whales, one of those circle of influence, I already have one nailed down. I mean we.
That's amazing, yeah.
And I'm shooting for a second one.
Cool.
And I'm 99% sure we're going to get that one. Apart from a third one that most people might not know, but to me is a huge influence for me. So yeah, we're, like I said, and once that happens, prices are going up because they got speaking fees. Yeah. They've got to cover and stuff. So, but yeah, like I said, I'm here to help. I'm here to serve. Anything I can do to bless you or add value to you, your followers, your team.
Likewise.
I'm here. So.
Awesome. I know you guys got a ton out of this, so listen to it again. But put a comment in, subscribe to the channel. People like Jason are who we're bringing to you guys on a weekly basis. So appreciate it. We'll talk to you next time.